Welcome to Shareholder Q&A, a production of Agoracom, in which we answer questions directly posted by shareholders on the forum. With us today, happy to have him back, Peter Pascali, President CEO of PyroGenesis Canada, that trades on the NASDAQ under the stock symbol PYR and the TSX under the stock symbol PYR. Because it's a shareholder Q&A, I don't need to do the preamble for new investors because mostly it's going to be the existing shareholders. So, Peter, welcome back.
Thanks, George. Thanks a lot. It's good to be here.
Congratulations from me and everybody. This is our first interview since you were listed on the NASDAQ. So how does it feel? And share some of that happiness with the shareholders.
Oh, it's awesome. It's taken a long time to get here. But look, now we're part of the NASDAQ family, and we didn't have to do a concurrent financing. We didn't have to do a reverse stock split. It's good. It's good to be here. Yes.
All right, looking forward to amazing things.
We're on cloud nine.
Amazing things. Looking forward to more.
Yeah, almost certainly. Oh, yeah, it's a lot of good things are happening.
Hey, so you're talking about financing. I want to ask you a couple of questions before we get into the shareholder questions, because these are a couple of things you see when a company goes to NASDAQ. So one of them is, now that you're on NASDAQ, do you think PyroGenesis will be doing a financing here?
We don't need to do a financing, George. We have no debt. We have now, we mentioned in a press release the other day that we have over $30 million of cash. When we uplisted to the TSX, we had enough backlog to, sign contracts to get us through the foreseeable future. So there's no need to do a financing. No, that's not in the works or under consideration to meet working capital or anything like that.
All right, yeah, because sometimes companies take advantage of being NASDAQ, go do a financing. So I wanted to get that out of the way. And the second one was, we've read a couple times, we've talked about acquisitions as part of your growth strategy, M&A, but we haven't seen any yet. Why haven't we? And maybe just waiting for NASDAQ to begin.
So maybe that came out of the use of funds from our TSX listing where we had excess capital. And I guess we're asked what would we do with it, and acquisitions are always an option. My background in M&A probably lends to that theory. They're going to do an acquisition. I've actually said that we believe that over the next 18 months or so, with the economy moving towards more difficult times, there may be some assets that are put up for sale. Good companies, not a fixer-upper that will immediately add to revenue and earnings per share. We would look at them. Yes, we would look at them. And
fair to say you'd be more attractive now as an acquirer because your NASDAQ listed on top of it. So it makes offers even more serious.
Arguably, we are positioned as an acquirer right now. And look, George, I think for new people to Agoracom, I have to say that I'm very cautious about mergers and acquisitions. I believe, not many people know it, but most mergers or acquisitions are not good. There's this big splash, there's a big hype, and the stock goes up, and everybody expects good things to happen. And for one reason or another, usually because they overpaid. They blame it on cultural differences. That's the standard way. Oh, cultural differences didn't work. Bullshit. It didn't work because you overpaid. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I'm an investment banker telling you this, because 99% of the time, the valuation is created by investment bankers and advisors who are paid based on the value of the transaction, and their ego is also based on the size of the transaction. So I'm very cautious of an acquisition. I know only too well from working in the industry how it could be the ruin of a company. So yes, we're actually interested in acquiring companies which will help us grow or grow faster, and but we won't do a fixer-upper. And because of my concerns, I'm a lot more. I'm in a better position to make a good acquisition for the company if and when the time comes.
All right, thanks for answering those two. Because
so George, just for those, I just want to make sure that people understand that this interview is going to be about stuff that's already out there. There's not going to be any bombshell that's dropped or any, unless I slip up. And if I slip up, hopefully we'll catch it before it goes public. But if you're thinking you're going to hear something new here, go back, go somewhere else, watch TV, do something else. Your time would be better spent somewhere else. This is really because we've uplisted to the TSE, and we're now on NASDAQ. There's a lot of new eyeballs on the stock, and they're at the initial stage, and sometimes like a little bit more explanation.
Yeah, but that's the value of these, right? You've
That's
never
what it is.
broken news in one of these interviews. It's you have news. There is news that we have to talk about. You just add more context, more color.
That's right.
And so on.
That's right. And people want a little bit more clarity, and where we can, we give it. And this is what apparently people like. I think sometimes people who've seen it 4 or 5 times, they come back and they start wondering, where's the news? Well, that's a compliment, because you guys have gotten to know the story a bit better than you did in the past, and we welcome you as well. But go ahead, George.
All right. So first shareholder question comes from DHOD, who says, thanks again, George and Peter, for doing these. You're welcome, DHOD. First question. Can you talk about why Ben was chosen to join the board recently? What specifically led him to being chosen to be added over someone else? Does he bring certain expertise to the board that complements it?
Well, Ben's an interesting addition to the board, and a very positive one. First of all, he adds to our financial depth on the board. He actually has experience with a NASDAQ listed company, and he has a finance background, accounting expertise. He also is a CFO in a company in the environmental space. And if you look at his resume in Dr. Jazz, some very interesting overlap, which hopefully we may take advantage of down the road. That's not to say there's anything in the works, but it's an interesting overlap. Now, I hope I'm not saying anything out of school here, Ben, but one of the things I like about Ben is he shares my love of the accounting industry. So, yeah, he's going to be a good addition to the board.
Really good addition. CFO of a NASDAQ company. That's right. Pretty important. A lot of people don't, and we won't get into it here, but the CFO position is quite often just as important as this CEO position in big companies. At the end of the day, the bigger you get, the more important your CFO gets. So having someone like him on the board as a CFO will be helpful. Second question from DHOD. Can you elaborate more on what the purpose of the additional manufacturing facility lease is for?
You don't know how many emails I've been getting on that, George.
That's why it's here.
So basically what we did was, I think we almost doubled our manufacturing footprint. I'm not going to tell you exactly why, but you can, given where everything is going, you'd assume that we need more space. I think in a previous interview, I told you in our existing space, we're busting out, so we needed space anyways. But doubling it, I think we found some space. It was good space, really nice space, and so we jumped at it. We're going to be putting it to good use.
And in Montreal and Quebec in general, there is less demand for really great space. So you probably had an opportunity.
Ideally located between our 2 locations. It is in Montreal, George. And as I said, it's going to be good.
Third question. The investor presentation was updated today. So I'm assuming that was today or yesterday. And one of the changes was the share count. Was this due to warrants being exercised recently? And can you comment on the warrant acceleration clause now that the VWAP has been above 675 for 20 consecutive days? That was a press release, but let's talk about about the share count.
So if the share count went up, share counts go up because either you did a placement, which we didn't do because we would have to press release that, announce it, et cetera. So there's no, or because options or warrants were exercised. And we're finding that warrants are coming in, are being exercised quite regularly these days. And in fact, well, I think to the second part of the question where I think the gentleman or whoever it was asking,
HOD, yeah.
What about the acceleration? Well, we announced yesterday that we accelerated the expiry date of those warrants. So I think that answers that particular question.
Yeah, that's it right now. And in the just for people who didn't see the press release, these warrants that represent $5.2 million in total potential cash proceeds if they're all exercised, which I think they would be.
Yeah, I think they will. They're all in the money. But the point of note there, and to answer the question in a backhanded way, The original warrants, I think, were around $7.7 million. So the 5.2 reflects, the difference reflects how many have already been exercised. So when DHOD was asking the question, why did the share count go up? Possibly in part because some of the warrants were being exercised already.
That makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks, DHOD. Next up, Country Chic. Hi, George and Peter. Been an exciting few weeks. It has.
Yeah.
My first question pertains to the companies listed on the TSX.
Yeah.
From the press release documents, it was indicated the application was made as a tech company. The TMX site, however, lists Pyro as an industrial company. Does this mean the tech label was not applied? Just curious if there was an incorrect label given from the previous TSX venture, or if there was a specific reason for it to be labeled industrial. Great catch. I love that kind of due diligence.
So that's interesting, because when we did the uplisting, I did it under the tech criteria, under the the Toronto Stock Exchange's criteria for a tech company, and we are a tech company in their eyes. So if we were to get an award for one of the top 10 tech companies or something like that, we'd be in that category. However, their feed comes from a Morningstar, and Morningstar has
their own
classified
categorization.
as classified as that particular classification. We're looking into it. On the NASDAQ, they have us as environmental, which is a subsection of industrial. And a tech company oftentimes is associated with like
heavy duty software,
Facebook, these type of ones. So we're looking at it in Morningstar to see if there's a better classification. We tend to like the one that NASDAQ has given us, actually. And industrial seem to be invoked as well. We're environmental, that's in vogue. And we tend to have a tech aspect to our offerings, which is, it's hard to find that particular category on NASDAQ or anywhere else. But so that's the explanation for the TSE. Nothing untoward. We are classified as a tech stock within the Toronto Stock Exchange for whatever, however they benchmark stocks, but their feed comes from Morningstar, which is a third party.
Second question from Country Chic. For the upcoming Gabelli Waste Services Symposium, and maybe you want to let people know how big that is to be invited to something like that, because I've been following Mayor Gabelli for 25 years. Are you mainly planning to target use of the land-based systems, shipboard systems, or a combination of all the various offerings?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think it's around, I can't remember how long it is I'm given to speak. I think I can get them all in under that time frame. And we're looking at it, but if not, I think we're going to focus on 3D printing. If we have to focus it on anything, I'll try and get it all in under the 40 minutes or so they provide. By the way, I used to do deals with Mario Gabelli when I was in New York. When he was older, and I was just a peepsqueak. And I remember doing a couple of deals with him, and it was a thrill when I was invited to first speak at the Gabelli, because you have to be invited to the Gabelli conference.
Yeah, let people know. Give everyone maybe 30-second color there on how this isn't the GeorgeCom Investor Symposium. Being invited to Gabelli is quite the honor.
Yeah, it is. He's quite a figure in the financial circles, and you have to be invited. And we were invited. I think this is our third time. And I bumped into him on the stairs at once, and we chatted, and it was cool. It's nice to be invited there. It's an honor. And now we're coming in we started off as a TSX venture company, and now we're on as a NASDAQ company, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, that's just another indication of how PyroGenesis has shifted its perception in that side of the investment world. And you're now being invited to Gabelli symposiums. That's fantastic. Next is from moi, good old moi. Man, this is going to be a hard-hitting one. Yeah. You said that silicon nanoreactor is a huge potential.
Right.
However, the results of the silicon nanoparticle sample that came out of this reactor are beyond your expectations. So why not buy at HPQ while the value of its shares are not yet too high? It would cost less now to get a bigger stake. No, the amount that PYR can pay now to acquire HPQ at 100% is the same amount of PYR that PYR will have to pay later if we wait too long to get only 50%. What do you think?
Okay, that's a long, like if I'm following that, I think basically he's asking me.
Why not buy at HPQ? That's really the question.
He's quoting my excitement and then asking, why don't I buy it?
Yep. Fair question.
I love this guy. He always has these great questions. They're hard hitting, and if I answer them, I know I'm going to go to jail, right? So basically, if I answer the way he wants me to answer them, look, there's always what does a company do with its capital is always a question, right? So the basic question is, why don't you do X? Well, it's because there's other things around that we might be able to do, which is, buy back our own shares might be an option, acquire things, expand into other areas, or just have some gunpowder available for opportunities that come about. So these are what a board and management play with every day. Do we invest in a piece of equipment to do something, or do we buy some? Now, with respect to HPQ, what HPQ is doing, if I acquired them right now, just think about it. If I acquired them now, I'd have to fund all their growth. Right now, they're funding their growth and paying us to do, for revenues. We already have an option to buy 50% of the battery side. We have 10% on the royalty payments on both revenue streams from the battery and from the parent company. I think it's a great relationship we have right now.
Clearly.
That's not to say we wouldn't acquire them or at that sometime down the road, but that's the reasons that Moi articulated, although very good in and of themselves, have to be taken in the context of everything else we're doing and what the structure is right now.
How are you, by the way?
Did I answer the question, George?
Listen, as best as you can. Probably not the way some people would want it, but
no, I think it's the right way to answer it.
Yeah, without cups on, that's it. Side question for me: how happy are you with the progress of the silicon nano side, this partnership?
We're extremely excited. I mean, we have HPQ on our balance sheet, right? We've invested in the company.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Izzy G, still sticking with the HPQ Nano, but not asking why you're not buying them out. So first of all, he says, thank you for your hard work and congratulations for your NASDAQ entrance. That's from Izzy G. Thanks, Izzy. My question is about your right to purchase 50% of HPQ Nano. Is this right exercisable whenever you want? By doing so, I suppose it would come with a price, right? How is this price decided? If you can share more details, that would be great.
Yeah, that's very simple. Basically, I think we articulated in our press release, just to make it easy, we have a 10% royalty stream coming from that particular division. And the price is that we forego all future royalty payments. So no matter, there's not a catch up. We don't give back what we were paid, but we give up all future royalty payments for a 50% interest in the company, and that's the price.
Okay, so that's a pretty easy mathematical equation there.
Yep.
All right. Izzy, thanks for the question, and thanks for the compliment to Peter. Next up is Matt Boy, but he asked this question that I'm just going to say it here and also say we dealt with it. First of all, he says, congrats on the incredible accomplishments thus far. Can you at this time tell us what the plans are for the new manufacturing space? Fair to say we've dealt with that?
Yep.
Okay. So thanks, Matt, for that question. It was answered further up. Next up is Team Wallace. Hey, Peter, War Eagle and Row Tide from Alabama. First, thank you for your leadership and PYR for allowing me to retire a little earlier than I wanted to due to the virus. My retirement account is looking pretty good thanks to being very overweight in PYR. Good for you. Good for you guys. One question: with all the needles being used for vaccines, have you been contacted in regard to the used needles being taken to a central location and the torches being used to destroy these needles as opposed to them ending up in landfills? That's a good question.
No, we haven't been contacted on that one. We don't, not that I know of. But this guy's is Team Wallace, you said?
Team Wallace, and he says, "Hey Peter, yeah. War Eagle and Roll Tide from Alabama."
Yeah, so hopefully I won't embarrass him, but he sent me an email I think yesterday. It was a bit of a laugh because his wife fell asleep in front of the computer. Okay, and when she woke up, she saw we had a press release, and he told me that she may have had a Freudian slip. She said to her husband, hey, PyroGenesis has 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 press release something.
I like
And,
that.
and he said that because he's overweighted in pyro, and look, to him and anybody else, I'm honored and I'm happy that PyroGenesis performed and your portfolios are benefiting from it. But look, it's a lot of pressure to hear that somebody's overweighted in us. I mean, you got to be careful, and I don't want people to. I want people to invest in us if they want to, once they know what the company's about. I mean, those are the best investors, and never to invest something that you can't sleep at night, if it starts going down. That's the caution I would have.
Well,
I remember.
it sounds like Mark is sleeping really comfortably.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, but it makes me sleep more comfortably if people invest according to those metrics. I saw somebody.
Well, remember, Peter, there's also a difference between somebody today mortgaging their house and buying $200,000 worth of PyroGenesis versus buying $25,000 worth of PyroGenesis.
Yeah. I just
it's moved up 10 times, right?
Yeah.
So, which it sounds like that's what Mark's situation is. Not exactly.
Exactly. But as CEO, I prefer. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Next up is Skyrocket.
No boy.
Hi, Peter. Congratulations. And by the way, from Germany, Skyrocket is writing from Germany. So he says, congratulations for you and your team for the NASDAQ entrance. I'm fully invested since June 2020 and do my very best to increase awareness of PyroGenesis in Germany with family, friends, and forums. Skyrocket, thanks for that. Much appreciated. Concerning news release from March 11th, this new addition to our intellectual property portfolio brings the total number of issued and pending patents held by the company to 124, which is a historical high.
Yeah.
My question, will these 124 patents or 19 families of inventions creating new business lines next to the current existing business lines for PyroGenesis?
Okay, so yeah, I hate somebody when they say yes and no as an answer, but yes and no. And the reason is these patents will definitely get us into new arenas. For instance, if we can produce 3D printing powders faster and more economically, then that will open up a new range of metal wires that we can convert into powder. So essentially, yes, it's a new business line if we can do that. But no, because it's still the same thing. We produce powder. So I don't want to mislead someone by saying yes, it's new business lines. I view it as new business lines when you open up a whole new arena of opportunities to produce different powders. Yes. Right. Oh, and thank you very much, Skyrocket, for spreading the word. We're actually finding a lot of interest coming from Europe, particularly Germany, and we're looking at ways to get the word out in Germany, which is a different space than in North America. They tend to do things more through print than through one-on-one meetings. So if he has any suggestions, feel free to send them offline. Thank you, Skyrocket.
Yep. Thanks, Skyrocket, on behalf of everybody. Next up is G Dodd. Dear Peter, really been impressed by your generosity during the last Q&A where you took the time answering all our questions. During the Super Bowl Q&A, you said, quote, think inside the box to provide added value to customers. Please, can you comment about the last press release from Rio Tinto, who became the first North American company to produce scandium to be used in 3D printers. Rio Tinto also mentions producing this high-value material from waste. Drossrite, ? Here in Quebec. Thanks again. So any comments about what Rio Tinto is doing there?
So I recall, so I think basically what Rio Tinto is doing is they opened up a scandium plant because they were going to extract scandium from some tailings that were being generated from another plant. So tailings are a waste stream. So they had a waste stream from another plant that had scandium. I can't pronounce it properly. Scandium.
Scandium. Yeah, it's not easy. Scandium.
And so they're processing the scandium tailings, and they're generating these billets, these alloy billets that have a high purity scandium oxide in it. So they're taking these billets and they're sending it off to Amero, which is an Australian 3D printing company that uses laser-based additive manufacturing processes. So they're laser-based. Now, I don't know what's actually happening, but I believe, I'm assuming because we know Amero, and we know that they work closely with a group called MCAM, I think, something. Anyways, it's a university group that will, we believe, process these billets into powder for 3D printing. Now, Monash, that's it. Monash Center for Additive Manufacturing. So they don't use the next gen process, and we believe the next gen process is the ideal process to provide to create powders from. So Rio Tinto is not actually creating the powders; they're just selling their billets to somebody who's going to further process it using a different process, and then giving it to Amero, I believe, to use in their laser process. Can we do it better? I think so. We weren't offered the opportunity. We didn't know about it, but hey, that is what it is. But yeah, that's what's happening. I think I answered that. I think that answers the question. I may have gone, and it's all public information, or we don't know anything that's not public.
Next is from Frank Pentangeli. Is that a Godfather? Is that a Godfather character? I think it is, isn't it?
I don't know.
I'm going to Google it while you're answering the question. Mr. Pascali, can you speak a little to the current state of the waste management side of the business? Do you see a push towards cleaner waste management, or are many industries still avoiding the issue until they're mandated to address it?
No. Well, I'm not, I can't speak. I mean, I don't know enough about the industry, but from my perspective, we're seeing that there's a huge move to becoming green, consciously green, not legislative green. In fact, I think I have mentioned that there's a huge iron ore pelletizer who has put together a multi-billion-dollar program internally and funding it by floating a bond last summer for about $1.5 billion to reduce their greenhouse gas footprint. And it's not based on legislation. It's based basically on investors, the public, environmentalists, their board, and banks, I believe, tying credit facilities to their greenhouse gas footprint. So there is a move afoot, I believe, at least in the segments we're addressing, to be green without being having to do it because of the law. We're seeing that. So to speak to the general question, which I think is, do we see that there's an increase in awareness and movement on corporate sides to become green? Yes, we see that.
No doubt about it. I mean, that's what I'm seeing, and obviously people want to hear what you see, but it's clearly happening. And he also asks, can the torches potentially be used at nut butter roasting facility?
A nut butter roasting facility. Is that a joke? I don't know.
Yeah.
Nut butter roasting. I don't know. Do they use diesel burners? I don't know. But look, nut butter roasting.
If you know something about nut butter roasting, I'm going to put you on Jeopardy, because this may be competing with my plasma pizzeria offering. So we'll have to see if it competes or not. And Frank says, thank you, Peter, for making the planet Earth great again.
Well, thanks a lot.
Frank, we loved you in The Godfather, because I did look it up, and that is the character.
Oh, really?
Frank Pentangeli. Yeah.
So he keyed it off the Godfather. I just hope I answered it properly.
Yeah. You better, or his brother show up, because if you remember, his brother showed up to the Senate hearing there. Next up is younger guy. I love these questions. Gonna change it up a little bit here. Hey, Peter, I have 3 questions for you. 1, can you give us an update on the swag?
Oh, the swag.
Apparel with humans like apes discovering plasma fire, apparel related to the dynasty, Patagonia or other brand fleece vests with the PyroGenesis label, Hydro Flask bottles with the PyroGenesis logos. In other words, he's hungry for some kind of swag. Where are you guys at on that, if anywhere? I know you said you have the priorities, but where are you at?
It is sort of like a priority. It is a priority. It's something that we want to do. Rodin and Clemence are aggressively looking for we were looking for quality products, like things that you'll wear and be proud to wear, and it's got good quality. That's one thing. Yeah, so we're moving forward. It takes time. It takes time, and we're just inundated right now, left and right, with things that are happening. But it's moving forward. Every week we process it a little further.
Good.
How do we put it onto our website? How do we collect the money? How much is going to? We want it all to go to charity. And
Yeah,
all the.
I want to make sure everyone knows that.
How do we do these type of things? It takes a little thinking, because we don't want to just come out with some stuff that comes going to break or not be worth it. And we also want it to have some character, you know, some swag. So yeah, so it's and if people have any interest, like things that they may find interesting that they'd like to have see in the swag center, feel free to email us or to put it on Agoracom, and we'll do our best.
And by the way, I do want to float something here that we talked about for just 30 seconds the other day. And you can't really, I mean, you're going to maybe provide an answer, but what we really want for everyone watching is to provide an answer on Agoracom, which is, we know that NFTs, non-fungible tokens, have become a really big deal. If you're not familiar with them, we won't go through it here, but basically the digital collection world is now really underway. And something we were thinking about, I talked about with Peter, is, you know, there's history here now. PyroGenesis was a TSX venture company. When you started with us, you probably had a $40 million market cap. We did our first videos back then. Now you're NASDAQ, well north of $1 billion. So for everyone at home, we were wondering, what Peter and I were thinking about was creating NFTs out of some of the original posts or videos that Peter might have done in the very, very early days, because those are almost like digital collectible items. Sell them off, and again, all proceeds from that go into the charity or charities that PyroGenesis is going to be working with. But let us know your feedback on that. We think it's exciting because it's kind of like Sergey Brin and the Google guys having their first videos.
Yeah, I don't want to distance myself from this. Is your idea, George? Okay.
Yeah, it is my idea. I think it's interesting.
And I said, yeah, George. Okay, bye, George. No, I'm just kidding. So what I like the idea, George, was you said that, and I know about these type of tokens, and they're interesting. I don't see, I see maybe how we could do it, but the idea was that all the profits would go to charity, and that's what I really liked. I mean, if we could do something that is easy enough and interesting enough and unique, and it goes to charity, I'm all in.
Yeah. No, that's 100%. Neither of us are looking to put any money in our pockets. I just thought it'd be a really cool way to provide shareholders who really love Pyro with history. You know, now we know these aren't going to sell for $1 million today. You're hearing some crazy things in the NFT world, but hey, NFTs are bought today. First video of Peter, or the second video, and 5 years from now, God bless, if the company goes where we think it may go, that's going to be a digital collector item. You know, that's where I'm thinking. Let us know on Agoracom what you guys think, if there's an appetite for that. His second question from younger guy: can you give us a refresher on your idea of building a dynasty? I liked hearing about how you want to build deep value, not temporary rush value, but deep value. You weren't in it for the month, the quarter, the year. You're in it to build a dynasty.
Yeah, I said that in one of your interviews, and apparently it got some resonance with people that heard it. I didn't find it was that big a deal, other than I was talking about it in terms of why people may find that things go a little slower than normal in other companies. So my idea is to, I'm building a dynasty, means that I'm not doing it for the press release. I'm not a CEO that basically has 2% ownership of the company and I get a big bonus at the quarter. So I want to come out with something that's a splash that'll affect my bonus. That's not it. What I'm trying to describe when I say build a dynasty is I'm structuring deals and relationships that we can live with 10 years from now, and that's important. We reinvest in the company to take advantage of our leadership position, our first mover advantage in some of these business segments. So that's why we will sacrifice. We will sacrifice. I don't think I'm saying anything untoward. We'll sacrifice current profits so that we can invest because we have a first mover advantage everywhere, we got to grab it and take it. And you know, one of the people that really understand this is Kathy Woods. You know, I've listened to some of Kathy Woods' talks now that we're part of her ETF, and I find, you know, holy Toledo, she gets me. She gets it. You know, it's not about, you know, profits right now. It's about being, you know, first mover in a disrupting industry and grabbing it. You don't do it by just slowing down and generating profits, for crying out loud. Anyways, so what were we talking about here? We're talking, what was the question? Sorry, George. I'm getting off
well, you're
topic
answering there. You are answering, which is, you know, younger guy, just want to just
yeah,
say that again about how you are focused on a dynasty.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're not quarter to quarter.
Yeah.
I always thought that was insane to try and run a company quarter to quarter. I couldn't do that privately.
No. In fact, there was a recent company, the company near close by, that basically made a huge acquisition recently. You know, and you have to wonder why they made the bloody acquisition, in my book. Okay, I'm not going to go into any details, but when you look at management, are they going to be around in 10 years, 5 years? And I, you know, so if I make an acquisition, it's hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, you know, at least it's not going to be for the quarter. I mean, hopefully it will be. I mean, hopefully it'll have impact right away. But, you know, it's with a long-term view of the acquisition. So
you're not, in other words, you're not going anywhere.
I'm not going any. Well, that's, you know, it might be taken wrong. The shorts are going to quote me if I say, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. Say, hey, he admits he's not going anywhere. What I'm saying is we're not going to disappear, for crying out loud. We're here for the long term. We plan for the long term. We structure for the long term. And that's how companies should be done, no matter what. I mean, that's the view that people should take. But too often not, the management is appealing to the sound bites that are demanded by investment bankers, you know, the street and things like that. I mean, I believe we're proof that if you keep on doing it with a longer term view, eventually when you keep on doing it, people will notice. And they notice with a bang. Sorry?
Follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with your positioning now to meet your dynasty, you know, desires? Are you, you know, how happy are you with the current state of affairs of PyroGenesis that you can look forward 10, 15, 20 years, say we're on the right path?
Ecstatic.
That's great.
Look, we got here, George, with nobody following us. We didn't have support. We didn't have promotion. We didn't have anything that other companies may do. You know, we got here basically by performing, and we're performing. And as a small company, an emerging company, we are always looking at, you know, we're struggling. We're challenged. We wanted to move forward. We had to keep the lights on, make payroll and things like that. Now we have no debt. We have cash on the balance sheet. If you thought we were dangerous before, now, and you're asking me before, were we well positioned to meet my view of dynasty? Yeah, we were. We did. Now, oh my goodness, I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven right now.
Great question, younger guy. Great answer there, Peter. And younger guy's last question is, without giving any non-public information, I really like this question. We're all passionate about the company. Are we missing, when he says we, the shareholders, are we missing anything that you think we should be celebrating or discussing more? So is there a part of the business that everyone knows about that's been publicly released, you know, things that you're doing that maybe they're not given enough attention?
It's hard because it's hard for me to talk to that because I know so much about what's happening, you know, in the company. I don't know if people really understand. I don't know. I mean, I think people are getting it more and more. I think people are getting what's happening more and more, and they're looking back and they're appreciating the decisions that were made at the time they were made, why we disclosed what we disclosed at the time. So I think people are getting it. The people that take the time are getting it more and more. So I think, no, I don't think there's anything that I can speak to on that one right here, George. It's
well, they are doing great due diligence. Look at the questions here. It's like they
yeah,
have you guys, all of you haven't left one stone unturned here. Great questions about different aspects of the company, patents, so on. So it's probably fair to say that they're giving due to everything that you'd like them to pay attention.
Yeah. I think I never find that when I read articles or I read the blogs, when I do sometimes, I don't get a sense that they reflect the same excitement that I have of, of where we are and what we're going to do. But that's okay in due time.
See, I see the opposite. I'm not sure where else you might be reading, but on Agoracom at least.
Well, I'm talking about how excited I am.
Oh,
That's the right thing. I mean, if things are going well, I should be more excited than anybody else, because I guess that's the right way. That's the right dynamics. I should actually be more excited if things are going well the way they should be than everybody else, because it takes time for it to go from what I know into the public arena. So yeah, I guess it's the right dynamics between me and the investors.
Next up is Bursey. Good day, Peter. We as shareholders have seen a lot of you, and you have built confidence and trust in your retail shareholder base. All great companies have a strong business continuity succession plan in place. I'm wondering if you can provide some insight into your other key personnel, and in fact confirm that you and the board feel that there is an adequate plan in place in the event of key personnel disruption. That's an interesting question.
No, of course. I mean, the board always, any board considers, what the story is and what the situation is and things like that. And I've always said that I'm the face of PyroGenesis, but I'm not PyroGenesis. It's the team. The team is bigger than me, George. I mean, if something happens to me, and the company's going to continue, it may continue down a different road or different opportunities, or maybe there'll be a different take on things. But it's going to continue. So I'm not dispensable as much as I'd like to think I am, and neither is really any one player in PyroGenesis. That's what's so unique about it. It's a team, and we all work hard. We all have the oars in the same direction. We meet the challenges together. There's nobody, backstabbing other people. It's not the way it is here. So to answer your question, is there a succession plan in place? The board is satisfied that there is. Again, I'm not indispensable. That's maybe a news flash to. I don't believe I'm indispensable. Well,
then we may run moi in the next annual shareholders meeting as a potential new CEO then, because he seems like he's really aggressive on the acquisition front. So if you're not indispensable, then maybe we'll run one of the shareholders.
Yeah, well, yes, we can put it to a vote, I guess. The bottom line is it's something that, and also from my perspective, I have the majority shares holders, and when I'm creating a dynasty, I'm creating it to, and so that is something that's always on my mind. If something happens to me, what is going to happen? So I've had a group within the company. It's called the Strategic Management Group. It's unique, and I don't know of many other companies that have anything like this. And it's been going on for years. It's not just the past year, 2 years. It's been, I think, at least 10 years. I've had a strategic management group, and we talk several times a day, sometimes on different matters. When there's a key discussion, it's with the strategic management group. So it's not just all in my head. And God forbid something should happen to any one of us, the strategic management group is there for continuation. So that's great. I think that answers the question.
It does, and I just want to add in that's great, Peter, because a lot of strong leaders, the one fault they have is they just want to be the leader, get out of my way, just follow my lead, I'll get everything done. But the fact that you've got a strategic management group within the company and everybody's on the same page is pretty good.
That's not to say that's not how I operate, but at least I do it with some advice from the strategic management group.
Yeah. I'm not saying you're managing by democracy either, but at the same time, frankly speaking, it's great to know that everyone knows where your head is at, where everyone else, where are we going? What are we thinking this quarter, this year, this decade? So if something does happen to somebody, the plan's already, the blueprint is still intact. Elan S2, question, Peter, will the sale of plasma torches to operators of pellet plants allow Pyro to earn and sell carbon credits? If Tesla can do that with cars, why not plasma torches?
So it's an interesting question. I always view carbon credits as just a source of a benefit that should be shared somehow, either in the purchase price or whatnot. We have structured some arrangements in the past. I can't remember, but basically, we would share in the carbon credits of implementing our offering. So it's something, it's something that we know about. and we try to incorporate it into the pricing, or we will try.
Yeah. And Tesla, by the way, can do all of it because their customer is retail based. So when they sell a car, chances are George, the purchaser, isn't going to be using the carbon credit. So I guess that's why they can do it either. But good to know that you've got it incorporated as well.
It would be very difficult for us to actually take the carbon credits because we actually need the client to give us the data.
Yeah.
So the best case we can do is some sort of a sharing arrangement.
Yeah. And that's because you're B2B versus Tesla, which is B2C. Metal 7 in Set Eel uses plasma to apply anti-wear coatings to rollers and other stuff that is used in aggressive environments. They also make bunker C burners for use in pellet plants. Could they also manufacture plasma torches to compensate for the loss of sales?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's for loss of sales, their sales, I guess. I don't understand the question.
Well, how about this? Could they also manufacture, then let's cut that part out because I was thinking the same thing, but could they also manufacture plasma torches? Period.
I don't. So what was the sentence beforehand? What do they do with plasma?
Use plasma to apply anti-wear coatings to rollers and other stuff in aggressive environments. They also make bunker C burners for use in pellet plants.
I'll speak to a generality. I mean, to a general. I don't know about. I won't speak to them specifically, but generally speaking, operating a plasma torch is not trivial.
No.
And operating one that doesn't impinge on other people's patents is unique, and things like that is, again, another level of expertise. For them to produce plasma torches, they have to have an application. It'd probably be easier for them to buy the plasma torch and sell it to the application or use it in an application. But I'm not concerned about our plasma torches are very, very unique, very, very unique. And I don't believe there's enough plasma torch manufacturers in the world to address the potential business applications that plasma can be used in.
Since you said that, just sharing some of the knowledge inside your head with everybody else, aside from some of the applications we've seen that Pyro's already talked about, what other applications do you see coming down the road? And I'm not asking this in terms of for PyroGenesis, so you're not giving, but what other applications do you see for plasma torches that we wouldn't know or be aware of? Or
so you're asking me to identify different opportunities that would be good for plasma torches
yeah, because you just said there are enough plasma torches
that people would not be aware of, correct?
Right.
I'm not going to tell you, George, in the world where we think there's a huge advantage and have everybody rush there. Actually, for all those that are listening, I think there is a very interesting opportunity to use plasma torches to turn banana leaves into gold. And I think everyone should rush and look at that opportunity right now.
Is that a joke?
Banana leaves to gold, George, with plasma torches. Go for it. Is it a joke? If you have to ask me if it's a joke, George.
I didn't think so much. You had a straight face on that one, so I didn't want to laugh.
Yeah. Well, you asked me, tell the whole world where the next opportunities for plasma is. No way.
All right. But fair to say that, but plasma torch applications are going to multiply from what you're seeing over the next.
And when you see banana leaves being turned into gold by plasma torches, you heard it here first.
All right. That's a new spin out.
There you go.
Drongok asks, can you comment on any relationship you currently have with Rio Tinto? Clearly not, even if you did or if you didn't.
No. Can't.
All right. And by the way, Elan S2 also asked, can you confirm that the quote for four torches was to IOC Labrador City? I don't know if you can confirm anything. Yeah, guys, the one thing is you can't. Those questions are never going to get answered, period. Neither confirmed nor denied.
Well, it's good that you asked them so people know they're asked in the forum. When they send them in, but we can't answer those ones.
Money Poet, what in your opinion is Pyro's exposure to clean energy theme? Is Pyro a clean energy pure play at this time or foreseeably? I've always said I think PyroGenesis is an ESG play. It seems like that's where it's going towards.
What was the
clean energy? Is PyroGenesis a clean energy pure play at this time?
We're definitely environmental pure play. All our offerings contribute to reducing and improving, not reducing greenhouse gases or improving the environment to some degree. We're very much a pure play in terms of the environment.
Alien landing. I love this question. Hi, Peter. Love the way Pyro is bulking up with bulging muscles. Looking forward to seeing more torn shirts in even larger sizes. A bit of a fluff question, but when do you anticipate Pyro having its own intercontinental private jet?
Right now, actually, that's actually, I mean, I want to fly on a plane with lots of people, go through bustling airports. I am so fed up with being locked down and alone. Put me on a passenger jet, commercial passenger jet with lots of people. You know, so anyways, I don't think we're going to ever have an intercontinental private jet.
But remember, he didn't say no. So there's a chance. That
Definitely
famous
a chance.
saying. So there's a chance?
Definitely.
Thanks, Alien Landing. Love questions like that to break it up. And it just speaks more to the relationship that shareholders have with you, right, Peter? That they feel that comfortable to post an open forum, to be on a video. And that's what I love about the relationship you've cultivated with your shareholders.
Well, thanks a lot, George. Your platform has gone a long way to getting us there.
Armand4, who says, you may call me Aaron if you like, and I'm a male. That's great, Aaron, because sometimes we says, hey, is that, we don't know if it's a guy or a girl. So, okay. So now we know Armand is a male. Cheers to you, George, for this platform. It's invaluable as a long-term investor for the access and information it provides. You're welcome. Thanks, Aaron. Congrats to you and your team, Peter, for the consistent accomplishment of your personal and company goals. Your efficient and appropriate use of capital in an honorable business sector is why I'm proud to be a PyroGenesis owner and will continue to be for what will hopefully be decades. Keep doing what you're doing. Man, that's a great statement. Thanks, Aaron. First question, royalty agreement with HPQ Nano. We've gone over that. So thanks for the question, but we'll leave that aside. Second question is, it was announced recently about larger facility, larger space. We've talked about that. He says, I'm sure it's not for indoor track practice. We didn't answer that, but we can confirm that it's not. So there's going to be business going on. Third question, there have been many tremendous leaders over time in the world of business, politics, religion, military, sports. Who is the leader that influenced you the most and why? That's a good question.
I mean, there's amazing leaders in the world. I don't study them though, George. I mean, there's some people that study leaders and know and read their biographies and things. I don't do that. I guess Winston Churchill was quite an interesting character. Failed English, but came out with now there's a Churchillian English. He was a great leader in a time of need. But really, I'm not one of those type of people that study. I mean, it sounds arrogant, right? I don't study leaders and say, "Oh, I aspire to be like them." I just march to my own drum, I suspect, to my music. I saw something the other day, actually quite interesting. There are some people that dance. Those that dance are thought to be crazy by people that don't hear the music. I mean, it's interesting to say, and I don't know, it just came to my mind. But no, hold on. You know what? Without being too tree hugging and things like that, my parents, my mother and my father my father in his own way was a true leader. He was very, he took sometimes some difficult positions because they're the right decisions. And as a child, you saw it from a distance, but it's ingrained in you. My mother brought me up on certain philosophies. In fact, she used to always read to me. I think I mentioned in Agoracom, the poem by Rudyard Kipling called "If." It's a pretty, I grew up on that poem. She read it to me every night when I went to bed since I was a little kid to when, I don't know, even if it's for 2 years. I mean, I can't remember when she stopped, but probably when I was 8 or 9 or 7 or something, but she'd always read it. And there's a message in "If" that I guess was ingrained in me. So they were leaders in their own way, my parents. And this is not like an Emmy, Academy Award. I thank my producer and my parents. No, really, in terms of leadership, yeah. And but any great leaders in the world, there's lots of great leaders in the world. The little I know about them, the segments I know about them are interesting, and I admire them. But I don't really model myself against one or try to be like one particular one.
But you've done right by your parents, that's for sure. And look, I've been working side by side with you for 3-4 years, and yeah, you definitely march to your own drum, but you're very strong. You know what you want, but at the same time, you're collaborative and very principled while you're doing it all. So
And it's only when
your
you
parents
get
did a
old,
fantastic job.
it's only when you get older and you realize why you're doing some things and
Yeah.
why they might work, and you say, "Holy Toledo, it's my mother, my father that taught me that, and I didn't realize it." So that's the answer.
To Mama and Papa Pascali, thank
There
you.
we go.
Off the Swedish Viking, love the name. One, what kind of different metals are you planning on using in your additive division going forward?
Well, what we have used is, titanium is the main one. We have, I think, press release our capability to do. I don't know if we press release it, so I won't say it. Then we did a specialty metal for the military. So there's lots of different wires we can use. So I think you asked what are they? We won't talk specifically to them, but there's a lot of different wires that we can use. All the ones that are commonly described in the literature we can do.
The second question is, how is competition looking with all those other metals? Is Pyro the lone king on the hill? Now, you're not addressing specific metals, but there are obviously many metals out there. How's the competition look? Do you have a better process?
So the hill is the king of the hill, or as you mentioned, it's not a very populous hill. Making powders for 3D printing using plasma, it's not crowded at all. There may be two other players, one who I don't think is credible at all, one who I think is, I like them. But even if everybody that could produce powders using plasma did them, there's not enough plasma powders produced by plasma, I think, to address the marketplace. So it's a lonely hill. There's not very many people on it. And I think I answered this question, maybe.
Got it? Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Not sure. Last question. Not sure I'll get an answer, but any hint? No, I'd probably say that right now. When we might expect cash flow from the additives will be greeted with a space hug and screams of joy.
Well, we've said it's this year that we're going to be producing powder, and we're very excited about it. Very excited about it.
Hoagie. Hello, Peter and George. Thanks for the opportunity to ask questions. First question is regarding your recent patents. You just announced a patent approval in Europe, and I saw this one, method and apparatus for producing fine spherical powders from coarse, As well, can you expand on the patents and how important you feel they will be? To me, they both seem significant and seem to give you advantages and open up new opportunities in powders.
Yeah, so particularly when we put the the patent applications together, we're not made of money. So going forward with a patent is a very serious decision at PyroGenesis, because we're spending money. So they have to actually have an impact on our business, on our ability to enter into new markets in a very significant way, and it also is defensive. It builds up a barrier to entry as well. So these patents that when you hear about we're processing a patent, it's very significant for us to do that. We don't do it just for willy-nilly silliness.
Second question is about your comment on November financials that you are, quote, selectively considering strategic alliances with technologies and technology providers to help accelerate, become a world leader in GHG emissions reduction. Can you comment on where you stand with these discussions? So not who, but where.
No, we're not. No.
Okay.
No. The answer is no.
But thanks for the question. Robert GL.
Yeah.
How is the DrawSrite enterprise going? Can they expand operation to other metal draws such as tin?
There are other metals that arguably we could process, but right now we made a huge impact in the aluminum industry, and we're leveraging off of that because that's the easiest one to do. And so we're concentrating right now on aluminum. There are, as we said in the past, there are other metals, but we're concentrating on aluminum right now.
When focus returns to waste incineration and waste to energy, have you considered creating a spin-off company for waste management in its entirety? Sounds pretty premature. If Pyro designs and builds systems, it would seem possible to sell or lease and manage entire systems to clients and do a profit sharing scheme by bypassing third parties.
So there was a couple of questions there. What was the first bit?
Would you essentially have you considered creating a spin-off company for waste management in its entirety?
So for those that are new to the story, I have said in the past that I believe that we are a complicated offering. Even now that we've tried to simplify things, we're still complicated. And we're probably best served that once a division or so gets to a particular size to spin it off so that it can have its own investment, its own strategy. I'm still a believer of that. I won't go into all the boring details why. I've done it in other interviews. But to answer the question, the board is always considering ways of increasing shareholder value by either acquisitions or spin-outs.
G. Papali 2. Hello, Peter. Thanks for taking my question. Is the one torch sold to, I believe, client A for valuation installed and operational? And if so, have you had any feedback? And a big thank you for your leadership.
I can't speak to that, those type of things in this particular forum.
Octavius, thank you very much for the Q&A. Such a shareholder-friendly company like PyroGenesis is very rare. I appreciate it very much. One, when will the deal with Auburn Duval bear fruit in terms of cash flow? I think you've already kind of answered that by saying sometime this year. You've already made the statement that.
Anyway, having said that, yeah, I said we're going to start producing powders, and so that I believe goes hand in hand with Auburn Duval. So what was the question exactly about Auburn Duval?
When will the deal with Auburn Duval bear fruit in terms of cash flow?
Well, it's interesting. He says cash flow, okay, but it has borne fruit, quite a bit of fruit for us, in all sorts of introductions, advisory role. So it has borne fruit, but in terms of cash flow, we have to produce powders first.
The Japanese trading house is not mentioned in the presentation. Can we assume that PyroGenesis no longer needs a middleman?
What the Japanese trading house was brought in to do was try and help us generate to offset some of the weaknesses we had in trying to operate dross furnaces for ourselves in other parts of the world. So the part is, are we dependent on middlemen? I think we are fastly becoming independent of that need. However, the Japanese trading company does have a role in very specific instances, and we are still have a relationship with them. However, COVID affected them slightly differently than us, and so things have slowed down with respect to actively having them involved in some of our dross rate opportunities.
And Octavius wishes you a good day, and we wish you a good day in return. Stabler, congrats to the whole team at Pyro for making it to TSX and NASDAQ. Now that you're on these major exchanges, good question here. It's almost like a procedural thing. A, will you be having conference calls after quarter results and any major news announcements?
Once I'm done with the quarter and with the bloody auditors, like I don't want to see those numbers ever again, let alone talk about them. Because I find that what the accounting industry does to financials is an abomination. Anyways, having said that, I'll have to look at it. If it helps, we'll do them, or I'll do them, or a CFO will do them. I think I'll have to look and see how that's regarding the marketplace. If it's wanted, if it's required. Not required, if it's wanted, if it helps investors. But we haven't made a decision yet.
And in your financial result, and I like this question because a lot of NASDAQ big companies do this. They have conference calls. The other thing they do is they provide guidance. So a Stabler is asking, Kenny the Snake Stabler, in your quarterly results, will you provide guidance for the following quarters or full year?
So what we've done in the past, George, is we have provided guidance. I think we either 2 or 3 times in a row now. I believe that if we have information that can help investors, we should try and give guidance. But I don't want to get stuck into a situation where we constantly give guidance and we're forced to give guidance when there's really none that we can give. The guidance that we gave in the past was basically because what was coming up in the next quarter we thought was so drastically different from what people may expect and historically, that it was prudent to clue people in a bit. So we'll see. The problem with guidance is that if you meet it, nothing happens. But if you miss it, you're killed. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But we'll see. We'll see. I gave guidance recently in the past few times against the advice of others. I thought it was the appropriate thing to do given the news. We'll see what we'll see.
The next question is from Common Sense, but I'm going to call an audible here. And Common Sense asks a great question, but it's a long hypothetical about whether it'd be possible to use plasma torch processes for mining purposes. And there's a really long hypothetical. If you do this, you do. So what we'll endeavor to do is, Peter, I'll send you this question, or I'll post it on Agoracom, and then maybe.
So the question is basically, can plasma torches be used for mining?
Yeah, but he has very, very specific scenario here, hypothetical, and I don't think this is the place to do it because.
Well, generally speaking, I believe it could be.
All right, and what I'll do is I'll post that. We'll make sure it gets posted, and then you can chime in there the next couple of days with your thoughts on that. So, Common Sense, thanks for going through this, but because of hypothetical of something that doesn't exist right now, this probably isn't the place to go through a long hypothetical like that. But I love the time and effort you put into it. So we're going to make sure it gets attended to. GEXE, Geeks. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but GXE. Hello, Peter. I'm a German shareholder since 2016. Intend to stay invested for a very long time.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great work you and your whole team are doing. Thanks very, very much. Thanks also to George for his great interviews. You're welcome. Stay healthy. My question.
Did he really say that? Did he say that? Thanks, George, for the great interviews. You just put that in.
I just added that in.
There you go. No.
I was gonna add it, and you're very handsome, and you have better hair than Peter. But I decided that might give me away.
There you go.
No, but thanks, Gexy. That's appreciated and always nice to hear. Pyro has so many different business units now with everything that is currently developing. How do you prioritize your work? So their question is, I have a few concerns. Does Pyro have the capacity and the staff to focus on all the currently important developments like iron ore, additive powder, HPQ nano, drawstrike tunneling, waste management? Do you have this? Yeah, listen, that's a fair question, right? Are you a victim of your own success? We have so much that you can't take it all on, but you don't want to give it away either. So what's the status there?
That's a very good question. I mean, basically, if you come new to the story, you see all these things happening, I say, oh my goodness. But we've been doing it. We've been doing it all the time. I mean, now we're, instead of applying it to developing and research, we're actually commercializing. We're very, very, very disciplined, very, very disciplined. And we don't go too far afield. So what we've done is we've created, as I've said in some of my presentations, 4 offerings that are very independent of each other. So that's good. If something happens in one, it doesn't slow down the other. And that's what you want. So you do want to be in different offerings because you de-risk the company. But again, you don't want to go too far afield that you can't do anything for anybody. You're just a failure at everything. So my discipline back in merger and acquisition, I realized you're at as high a risk of just doing one thing for one client or one industry as you are by doing too many. So the art is getting to a reasonable number of offerings where you de-risk the company, but you don't put it at risk. And I think we've done a remarkable job of doing that. So to take an environment, for example, we've got a contract with the US military. We got a team that's dedicated to doing that. The tunneling, we have a team that's dedicated to doing that. HPQ the same. The iron ore torches. I mean, we don't have a team doing that. We have a BD group doing that, and we have a supply chain where we can actually make the torches 100% outside of the company. The same thing with Drossrite. With Drossrite, it's a BD. We get and then the Drossrite systems are made. They're not made in our company. In fact, the last order, there's no Drossrite system that even touched Canadian soil. It was all made in the United States and shipped out from there. So it's a very good question. And when you peel back the onion,
Fair question.
you realize how well we've done it. It gives most people another level of comfort and credibility in the way we do things.
Yeah, and look, it's a fair question because most companies would be envious if they had just two of these different, business divisions, let alone all of these. So that's a fair question. He also, or she goes on to ask about spinoffs. We've talked about that's something always in consideration for you. So thanks, Gexy or Geeks. Whack. Great question. Peter, my question is, when can we expect to see PyroGenesis name on the advertising at the Bell Center?
I wanted to open, see some hockey for crying out loud. Gee whiz, that would be nice. Hey, one day to see, PyroGenesis advertisement somewhere local. That I want the Bell Center to open, see some hockey.
Hey, one day, think bigger, think Dynasty, the PyroGenesis Center, not just on the boards, the whole damn thing.
I wish I answered with that. That would have been better.
That's why I'm here. That's why we're a team. We're all a team. Shareholders, me, you, everyone, Rodena, the whole team. We're a team. Clemence, Tim in Vancouver. Congratulations. Thanks, Peter and the POIR team. With respect to iron ore pelletization torch adoption, I would think that by now the efficacy and economics of a plasma torch replacing a fossil fuel burner is not really a question anymore. So that's a hypothetical. You're talking to that. The power to run just a 1 megawatt torch could also power about 700 homes. Hundreds of megawatts of clean produced power takes time, dollars, and the commitment from people at the highest levels of industry and government to put in place. Would you agree that the power input side, and here's the question, is now the leading common challenge clients face?
So I have a lot of questions that come of a similar tone, like what are the challenges? What is the challenge? There's nothing new that's popped up that isn't already very well known in the industry. We use electricity. If you use the combustion, you have a NOx forming. So these are all things that are known within the industry and the challenges that are in the industry, and they're moving forward. All the clients that we mentioned, A, B, and C, and others, are moving forward. So there's not like, oh my God, we have to answer this question or this or that. From our perspective, so let's look at what the alternatives are. Okay, this is from my perspective. People should really do some due diligence and not go and just assume what I'm saying is correct. It's just my perspective. There's a lot of pressure, environmental pressure, to reduce greenhouse gases. And in our pelletization, you got these bloody, fossil fuels burners there. Now, if you've decided to change those out for whatever reason, what are your options besides plasma? You have something called biofuels. That's just bullshit, okay? Biofuels, yeah, they're cool, but you know what? You have to convert biofuels from biomass. And it's a lot of energy created, and there's a lot of emissions. So when you look at it on totality, it's you got to wake up. Are you going to clean the environment, or are you going to dirty the environment by creating a biofuel that, in order to go from a biomass to a biofuel, it's damaging? Forget that. Hydrogen, that's also a very exciting one that people talk about as an option. And both biofuels and hydrogen are still on the drawing board. They're not commercially viable at all. So hydrogen, you need to build large, expensive facilities to make hydrogen, and it consumes a ton of electricity. Then you got to transport the hydrogen and store it, and it's explosive. So this is really not an answer at the end of the day. So when you're looking at what's readily available, It's plasma, in my opinion. I mean, there's other things out there, but I don't see anything out there that if somebody's going to have, somebody says, listen, we're getting rid of those diesel burners. We're going to get rid of them. What alternative is there? The NOx, the diesel burners are already making NOx, so it's about how you handle the NOx and how you address that. Electricity, they already have electricity coming in many places. You have to adjust the electricity, but those are the costs of doing it.
Is that nitrogen oxide? NOx is nitrogen oxide?
Yeah. So it comes in diesel burners. You can handle it. There's off the shelf ways of handling it. And I don't want to talk about anything that we may be doing that may be patentable, but we have our own views of some things that can happen. Anyways, so I'm not going to talk about that right now. But when you're looking at the situation, if you really have a goal to get rid of your fossil fuel burners, and in my opinion, if it's not today, it's eventually, because those things are damaging the environment like you can't, and if it's not being regulated today, it will be tomorrow.
It's coming, so they might as well make plans for it now. It's coming.
And a lot of them are smart enough to realize that it is coming, and they're gonna, do we have a law connect? Look, we have a patent on it. Maybe, I'm making it sound like it's a certain that we're going to get it. We're not. Nothing's a certainty. Okay, but for crying out loud, I don't think there's anything better than what we got. I mean, if I had to take a step forward and reduce my greenhouse gas footprint, and I was going to do it by addressing the diesel burners, the diesel burner problem, fossil fuel, biofuels aren't the answer, because you have to convert biomass to biofuels, and hydrogen has so many issues with it already. It's like, what are you gonna do? Have the Zeppelin run around? Anyways, so look, that's my personal view of it. And when people say, "Is this the challenge?" That's the challenge. No, we just have to go through the process, a natural process of getting them accepted. There are some challenges. There are some challenges, obviously.
And by the way, hold on. The very next question is from Where's Jack Benny? He actually says it to piggyback on Tim in Vancouver's question. Are you able to share with us some of the impediments the iron ore pelletization industry considers in adopting torch technology other than cost? So you're about to go into that, so I thought that was a perfect segue. Into
the costs are what are the costs? I mean, I don't know what the costs are to the plant really. What I have some ideas of what their costs are and what their challenges are. I think we addressed them. Are they going to say, well, for all the reasons, we're just going to stay with, fossil fuel burners? Possibly. Are they going to say, listen, we're going to wait a number of years before some other technology becomes better? Possibly. But I don't see, if I was them, I wouldn't.
But are there any impediments? Because you're kind of going to go into, are you able to share with us some of the impediments that iron ore companies, other than cost? So forget about cost. Is there anything else out there that's an impediment now?
I don't want to say yes or no, because if I say there's none and something pops up later on, I don't want to be held, for that. But we're comfortable that if there's any challenges, they can be met.
Okay. Would it be fair to say, and this is still from Where's Jack Benny, would it be fair to say these companies would be hesitant to adopt if the carbon tax versus torch adoption expense is marginal and strictly looked at it as a cost of doing business? Would that be fair to say?
I don't think in many situations there's no carbon tax. I mean, in South America, in some jurisdictions, there's no carbon penalty, and they're going forward with these things, or they're moving forward with these things. So
no, I think they're saying if the carbon tax that they're currently paying, I guess, versus torch adoption expense is marginal.
The carbon tax is a penalty for well, I don't know. I suspect.
In other words, I think what he's asking, if there's a big cost benefit on that, if there isn't really a big cost benefit at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, I would suggest that if you take in all the costs, including the social benefits of being a cost, if there's no benefit in the cost, then there's no point in going forward.
Okay. Interesting that you talk about nitrogen oxide earlier, because he's asking, am I correct in that the level of nitrogen oxide levels will also be a strong component as to whether or not to adopt? I think you kind of answered that before.
I think it's always been in from day one, and any time you talk about this type of a technology, you're looking at electricity, you're looking at the NOx formation, you're looking at maintenance, how disruptive it is to maintain, which is not. I mean, So you look, there are all these basic questions and you tick them off one by one. And the fact that we're here so far down the road would led me to believe that to some degree the answers that we're providing are good, and we also are happy with the option. Look, we're not going to go down a road and waste our time on some pipe dream that's never going to, that we don't believe is going to be successful. That doesn't make sense for us to do that. We're very excited about what our plasma torches can do, and very confident that they have a role to play in reducing greenhouse gases.
You talk about maintenance again. It's uncanny, but whereas Jack Benny asked, talk about the minutia of an actual torch maintenance routine.
Yeah.
Preventive maintenance operation. Is there a swing torch involved that would be utilized to change out the first torch, needing new electrodes, and then use the refurbished torch for the next torch? Or is it okay to have a torch offline for a time just to replace the electrodes?
Okay, this is the type of thing. This is an interesting question. These are the type of things that have to, the boxes have to be looked at and ticked. One versus another. What are the options? Which one to go with? So this takes time. We're a torch supplier. Of course, we'd like to have a swing torch. We like to sell an extra torch or two to have it in the background. What a swing torch is, for our people that don't know, it's, instead of, you just take the old torch out, put the new torch in, do your maintenance on the old torch, get it ready, and then it becomes the swing torch. And so that's what a swing torch. So if you have swing torches, then you can actually sell more torches.
Or is it okay to have a torch offline for a time just to replace the electrodes? Personal interest aside.
Maybe I misunderstood what a swing torch is, but that's what I thought.
I think you got it right. But then they're also asking, or can you just, like, for example, there are some plants that just shut down. They just go offline for a week to refurbish everything. So I guess what they're asking is, instead of a swing torch, is the alternative, you can just go offline to replace the electrodes.
So when you're talking about iron ore pelletization, what's really interesting, these things don't shut down, these furnaces. They go for year and year and year on year. And that's one of the nice things about our torches. You don't need to shut down the operation for maintenance. You can just plug and play, you just pull it out, put it back in. You don't have to shut down. So that's a real interesting benefit of using plasma torches. You don't have to shut down the facility. I think I may be wrong. Someone told me that there was one particular plant that actually we're looking at. It hasn't shut down for 7 years. So it's interesting.
And they end with, thanks again for the opportunity presented here in this forum and all you and your team do to create a better world. Love comments like that. I love comments like that about the company. Mazer RR, thank you, George and Peter, for putting this Q&A together. They're always great watch and very much appreciated. Also, big congratulations to the PYR team on the recent NASDAQ listing. Questions. Beyond number one, beyond potential acquisitions, are there any particular areas of the business or specific business lines that you anticipate using these funds to strengthen or expand the operations?
Well, nothing material. I mean, we're improving our IT department. We're improving our machinery that we have. So nothing material. I think that's
okay. Fair enough. Question number two, based on what you're seeing in conversation with potential DrawStrike clients, what is the reception like to the new zero landfill option that is being incorporated into your DrawStrike tolling offering?
So I believe what he's referring to is when we alluded to the fact that there's a technology out there that we'd like to incorporate into our offering that takes the residues that typically come off processing dross, and instead of landfilling them, converting them into valuable chemicals. And the answer to that is, well, we haven't yet incorporated that benefit into our offering. When we do, we think it's going to be extremely exciting and powerful combination of our offerings. There is a tendency now, a worry amongst DrawStrike people who process dross, whether it's from the traditional method or our method, what they're going to do with those residues. So the fact that we've nailed it, we have the answer, I think will be very well received, very, very well received. We have slowed down pushing our DrawStrike because we want to do it in conjunction with this new advantage.
Okay. Third question is interesting. At what point will Pyro start looking into additional uses for the PureVap system beyond silicon production? For instance, could the PureVap process be used to produce aluminum from alumina more economically than current smelting methods?
So yeah, we won't talk about that.
All right. Best regards to Mazer RR. Thank you. And finally, Money Poet. Last question. Congratulations to everybody. Fantastic due diligence. Great questions, guys. And even the funny stuff was great. What, in your opinion, is Pyro's exposure to the clean energy theme? Is Pyro a clean energy pure play at this time or foreseeably? I think we already discussed that one earlier.
I think we discussed that one. I think it was the same guy, actually. No, maybe not.
Hey, for all I know, maybe that was duplicate at the bottom. So we'll look into that. So Peter, that concludes the questions. Before we sign off, I want to kind of leave last word to you, even though you've talked about everything. Any parting comments for the shareholders?
No, again, thank you very much to the shareholders. Thanks for all the messages you send me, and I love hearing your stories. I think we're at a place that others would be envious of. We've got multiple offerings. We got no debt on our balance sheet. There's other companies out there that are suffering. They've been, dipping into their coffers to support their operations. They've been relying on government grants. We luckily, during this period of time, has come out stronger than ever before, and we look forward to making you proud. And thank you very much for the support.
All right, Peter, thank you for that. For everyone at home, thanks again for your contributions. Unbelievable work, great due diligence, great love and family in the PyroGenesis family here. Thanks so much, and we hope you enjoyed this and look forward to the next one. Have a great day. Stay healthy. See you next time.
Thanks a lot, George.